Guys, welcome back to the channel. Last episode, we got the engine mounted up. This episode, let's get a transmission in there. So we cut out the firewall last week to get this all situated in here the way we want. We're 4 inches farther rearward than what the factory engine mounting position would be. So now we're gonna start working on cutting out this tunnel and getting everything the way we need to go in order to get the transmission mounted in. So this episode is going to be a little tricky to film for me, so bear with me. I'll try to get you the best shots that I can of what's going on, but we do have limited space and some of this stuff's a little technical. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so those of you who are new to the channel may not have seen this. This is my BMW dual clutch 7-speed transmission. It's out of like a E90 series BMW M3. It is a 7-speed dual clutch. It's got a 1-to-1 top gear ratio, and it is pretty well suited towards our application. I have it sitting on a motorcycle jack right now, and it's raised up on some 4x4s to give me a little bit of extra height. Hopefully I can get it under the chassis table like this, but that's what we're going to try next. I'm going to open this garage door because I got the air conditioning on, slide him in, and see if I can jack him up underneath the truck. Just kidding, it's not even close. I gotta really work now. So I'm gonna have to take the transmission off, slide the transmission underneath, slide the jack underneath, heft the transmission onto the jack underneath of the truck, and then try to strap it on underneath there. So bear with me, this is gonna be a lot of fun. Okay, so this is not going to be remotely tall enough to fit in here. So I took the 4-inch blocks just out to see how high I could get it. And I had this jacked up all the way, and I'm probably 10 inches short, easy. So I'm gonna have to come up with a plan B here. So let me think and I'll get back to you. Okay. So I thought about it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mount the DCT adapter up to this thing in the front and get it fit. Then I'm going to recruit some help, probably from my dad. And I'm going to notch this little section from here to here out, slide the transmission as far forward as we can get it. Then I'm going to push the truck over to that wall, probably get my dad to help me. And we're going to strap this up choker style on the transmission here and use a cherry picker to lift it up into place. I think that is the most straightforward plan. So let's divert our attention here. I'm gonna go get the DCT adapter and we'll get it all mounted up. So I pulled it back off. I didn't feel like it was quite going on right. I felt like there was a little bit of tightness, and sure enough, this one thread down here, I'm not sure if it's just the way the chamfer's broken or what, you can't really tell in the video, but it just dragged the start of the thread a little bit. So I'm gonna stop what I'm doing and repair that thread. I'm gonna run out and get a tap. It starts threading fine, but you can tell there's just a little bit of tightness midway through, right there. It starts to tighten up, and I don't wanna destroy that thread because it's a brand new adapter. So I'm going to run out, get an M10 tap, and clean that up and make sure this is all good to go. I think it was just a little bit of burr. I didn't have anything tightened, like everything was floating loose and it still got tight like that. So I'm not sure exactly what happened. But the big thing here is when you're working with this kind of stuff, especially with like aluminum and steel bolts, don't force it, stop what you're doing, check what you're doing, fix it, and go from there. Like this one here just has a tight spot in it. So I'm not sure what happened there. I don't know if it's, I doubt it's their machining. Their machining is beautiful. I'm guessing it's just a little bit of debris or schmoo got in there and just needs to chase this hole out. So I'm gonna stop what I'm doing, fix it, and then we'll proceed. Okay, so I went back and just chase tapped these holes. I'm guessing these were like a number, like a 3A tap, rather than like a standard 2, because they were tight. All of them were tight, which is fine, but this plated hardware just gets a little sticky, and I wasn't quite comfortable with the way everything was going together. It felt a little gummy. So we went ahead and ran a number 2 style tap through everything, and it did loosen the hardware up a little bit, but that should be fine. When we actually bolt this together, we'll have the spline hub adapters and everything, aligning everything. I'm not too concerned about alignment with that. Should bolt up fine. So what we're gonna do now, try this again. I'll get this lined up and we'll get it all threaded together. I'm an idiot. You can't do it like this. It has to be on the engine first because I'm blocking the back of the bolt holes. Okay, so the adapter is in. Everything went good there. It's a lot easier to mount onto the engine. So got that going. Now what we'll need to do is we're gonna have to probably pre-cut this, at least from here. Probably cut this up here and then down to the tunnel and get that sort of cleaned up. That way we can at least have a fighting chance of getting the transmission up. And then we'll go from there. You can see we're sticking up probably about 2 inches from this cut line here, but the transmission has a pretty slow drop that you can see there. So it's gonna have a little bit of contact. We'll see how much. I'm thinking that heat exchanger right there is gonna need room notch for it, but as we get farther back, we'll have to see. So we'll know more tomorrow when we get this up on the stand, but for now, we'll just wait till then. Okay, so we got the adapter back off. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna cut this back to probably about to this tunnel, to this shifter tunnel here, just to give us some room, and then we're gonna mount the adapter back up, probably move the truck outside of the garage, and then we're gonna try to lift up the transmission and get it bolted up in place. Well, it's in and mounted, so we got the adapter in, all the bolts but one. I need to go down there and figure out why that one won't line up. Might need a little tap job, but everything looks pretty good. What I'm doing now is I'm coming underneath here and marking where the cross members need to go. And we're gonna go ahead underneath here, drill the holes out for the cross member. I'm going to insert some sleeves in there and weld in the sleeves, and then we should be able to bolt the cross member up and get the whole driveline angle set, and we'll be done. So overall, looking pretty good. Okay, so we're under the truck. I got this crossbar bolted up, and I have some reinforcement plates on the outside to help the frame from collapsing in. I did not weld a sleeve in the chassis, and there's a reason for that. I want to have a point where if in the future I want to basically coat the inside of this chassis with like a rust preventative, I can do it. And in order to do that, you can do it from the ends or the middle. And typically the reason you want a middle access point is because the hoses aren't long enough to feed the rust preventative all the way through the chassis. So if I ever want to rust proof this, rather than adding extra access holes, what I can do is I can pop one of these bolts out, just one, feed the tube in through here, and then run the rust proofing up and through. So these are 3/16 inch plates on both sides, and they extend pretty far out to the edges here on the back side to give it some clamping support. I have these torqued down to like 65 foot-pounds right now, and the tube didn't deform at all. So I think that's gonna be fine. What we're gonna do now is I'm gonna create the, cut some all thread. I have some basically B7 pressure rated all thread that we're gonna thread into the end of these heims, and then get the bushings all set up. and go from there. So I think at that point we should be ready to level everything out and set the driveline angle. All right, guys, so I got it all bolted in, and you can see here we used some Mustang 2, I think these are strut bushings, to mount these up, and it's just holding the heims here and allows me to angle the transmission along with the motor slightly, and it's really solid. So this is a pretty stiff setup. The heims here allow some rotation if need be, but what will stop it is the front engine mounts basically control the other degrees of freedom. So what is allowed to float in this direction isn't allowed to float in the engine. So all of our axial movement will be handled by the front engine mounts. These here will provide resistance, but these are mainly to do torque handling. So you can see the tension and compression. That's how these are set up. So this whole thing should hold this in pretty stiff. If you look at the factory BMW mounting system, it's not as robust as this. So this is going to be nice and solid. And hopefully, even with these little rubber bushings, we can dampen a little bit of the vibration out of the whole entire system. So for now, I think we're going to call this a short episode, or shorter episode, but I hope you enjoyed seeing how this all went together. If you're looking at doing a project like this, let me know. I'd be glad to explain how it all goes. So thanks again, and until next time.